Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Martin, and together with Allison Flero, we'd like to welcome you to our Q&A webinar today. A couple things in terms of housekeeping. We are recording today, so everybody will get a copy of the presentation following this. If you do have questions while we're in process here, please put them in the question box, and we'll try and get to all the questions that we have time for. Thank you to all of those who sent in questions ahead of time. That allowed us to get a little bit of organization going. And as soon as Allison shows the platform screen, we'll get started with our discussion. So the first questions that we've organized here have to do with contacts. And we'll start with, can we extract our contact list in Excel? Excel, of course, being a popular program for using CSV files to do other things with. Specifically, this user references a Facebook campaign, but I'm sure you can see the power of Excel. So Allison, why don't we take a quick look at that?
Right, so anywhere you see a list of your contacts, you can do an export. So right now I'm just in contacts search. I'm not going to add any criteria, but you can if you need to. And I'm going to click on search. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of my page, in this next steps bar, I have the export option. Same as if I'm in a group. So if I go to groups and open a new group, I can click on the magnifying glass. And again, it's going to show me the list of contacts, so I can click on export to export either all the data. I can also export the administrative fields, which are like the date the contact was created or maybe modified, and then I can choose the format, Excel or CSV, and if I click continue, it'll save on my computer.
Excellent. When you enter in something like a search in the contact record and you don't enter criteria, you get all of the contacts in the project. So that's an excellent way if you want to, consider exporting the entire contact list. Going on, we have another contact question. In groups, can you explain what eligible versus ineligible means?
Yes, so when you're looking at your group, if you scroll over the amount of contacts that are in your group, you'll see there it's broken out into eligible versus non-eligible. So eligible means that they're active and able to receive a message. Ineligible means they're not active. The criteria fits in your group criteria, but they're not able to receive a message. So either they gave a spam complaint, or they went into quarantine, or they unsubscribe possibly. These are the ineligible. And if you click on either ineligible or eligible, it'll bring you to the list of those contacts.
Yeah, ineligible contacts are something that the platform will manage for you automatically. So in the event of, like Allison said, in the event of an unsubscribe, the system will make sure that that person is ineligible for emails. They are, of course, still a contact, and due to the anti-spam legislation, CASL laws, it's important that you retain the contact and that you record the date that they opted out of your messages or otherwise made themselves ineligible. That way you have evidence in the platform that you can use later if you need to defend a charge against anti-spam. So it's a very powerful thing that the platform manages that for you automatically. So moving on, what is the simplest way to automate a file import? Before Allison shows us the dialog for that, I'll point out that the simplest way to manage a file import is simply to call your account director at Dialog Insight, and we'll talk you through the process and potentially do all the work for you. So as a service, that's a very popular offering that we have. It's also very simple when we do it all for you. That said, we have options in the platform for you to do it yourself.
That's right. Actually, the automated imports used to be only available to the Dialog Insight integrators, but we've opened it up for the users to use. So in configurations, imports, exports, The first thing you have to do is set up an SFTP, so a place to put your file so that the system can download it. Then, in scheduled imports, you have to set up the import kind of like you were doing a manual import. So tell the server, tell the system where to find the file, the naming of the file, how often you want it to be imported and when. You have to do the file mapping, so same as when you're doing a manual import. What field from the file goes into what field from the system. And also with the automated imports, you can set up alerts. So if the import fails or is completed with success, you can send an alert to a user in the system. Not only that, you can also schedule automated exports or export Dialog Insight logs.
Excellent. So a lot of things can be automated in the platform. After a little bit of setup, these can be very powerful features that you don't really have to look at. It's something that will happen automatically according to, the predefined rules. So moving on, we have a couple questions related to message options. So is adding an option to share a newsletter relevant, or is it better to focus traffic on the site? We assume the user means focus traffic on the website. This is a kind of a conceptual marketing question that will vary, between clients based on your goals. There are tools in the platform that Allison will show us to insert links for forward to a friend and that sort of thing. But in general, it's always a good idea to consider how your digital marketing tools are going to interact with each other, so that you're basically focusing on all of them. So Allison will take a look at a few of the options, in the platform to that end.
Right. So when you're in the system, you can create a forward to a friend form, and then when you're in your email, you just have to add the link. So from the link library, add a link to the tell a friend form and insert that in your email. This then forwards a copy of the message to your user's friend. The other thing you can do up at the top right in additional options is publish a web archive version of your message or a Facebook or Twitter version of your message that your users can then share on their Facebook or Twitter feed.
And in this way, the digital platform extends beyond email to help leverage all of your digital assets and of course, increase the effectiveness of your marketing. The other aspect of this is your own website too. We have some journey tools that allow you to put code on the website such that when your users visit you, you'll be able to use that. Or you'll be able to track that as an action. And of course, anything you can track can be used as a trigger for new emails, for marketing automation, and many other goals, even variable data in the message. Which brings me to the next question is, what are the available processes for email personalization? So Allison will walk us through a little bit of what's available, but there's a ton here. We could go on for half an hour on this alone.
Right. So the basic way to personalize your message is by saying hi first name. So I'm in a drag and drop editor. I clicked on the pencil to edit my text block. Now I use the insert a personalization field button in the WYSIWYG editor. And this allows me to insert information in any of the contact's profile fields. So in this case, I want to say first name and click insert, and it adds the code for hi first name here. That's one way of doing it. You can see also this block, we can add conditions so only certain people can see it. Right now, all the contacts will see this element, but if I click on the pencil, I can add criteria so that maybe only people, if their country is equal to Canada, will see this block. It's another way of personalizing.
Yeah, and if you notice those personalization drop-down menus, you'll see quickly that every field that you track in your contact database is eligible for personalization. So if you want to play around with inserting a company name in your email text, that's something that we can easily help you do. If you want to make conditional content for location, like Allison said, for Canada, or maybe gender, then as long as you're tracking those variables in your contact fields, it's very easy to personalize personalized messages. Remember, I commented about putting the journey code on the website and using that for other things too. So if you have the journey code on your website and you know as a result of that one of your contacts visited a specific product page, then you can also use that as the target for variable content and send them information very specific to what you've tracked them as being interested in. So the more you can personalize the message like that, the more you can tailor something to somebody's specific needs, the stronger your marketing messages are going to be over time. So if you want to discuss that further, we'd be happy to answer any other questions on that. So going on, we have kind of an exciting new omni-channel thing that's been in the platform for a little while now, but we have a question about more details on the option to send SMS messages. So let's go through a little bit of an SMS discussion. The first thing is there is a little bit of setup required. So there's some extra licensing and there's some time involved in getting this set up. We need to know things like what area code you're in, what area code you want your SMS messages associated with in an effort to, establish you with the, with an SMS number and, how you're going to treat, outgoing messages and replies that you might get from those messages. So having said that, the SMS interface itself is really quite simple. So Allison will walk us through that, and in the process we're going to deal with a couple of the other questions about sending surveys or getting the results from SMS questions compiled. So we'll take a look at all of that.
Okay, so I'm in the SMS editor. It's a lot like the email message editor. You can add personalization, dynamic content, specify your from name, and here is the content of my message. I see a preview of my message on the right, and just below that I can still send a test message. And underneath the test message we have some analysis about your message. So it tells you how many characters in your message, which will let you know between how many messages will be sent to deliver everything you've written in your SMS. Like John said, we can, there are a couple ways to do survey with SMS. You could create a survey in the Dialog Insight platform and have a link to your survey from your message, or we can even set up rules to accept answers through or replies through the SMS. So answer 1 for yes, 2 for no, and when they reply, we manage that answer.
Yeah, and that can in turn initiate other actions or reports to users to, to basically see things through to the success of your goal. So an example of that might be confirming a medical appointment. We have people using this in the medical field today where a message goes out reminding a patient that they have a doctor appointment on the following day. All they need to do is type 1 to confirm the appointment or 2 to reject or indicate that they want to cancel the appointment. The report that comes out from that process can allow the staff in the doctor's office to fill canceled appointments with patients on a waiting list, and in that way the physician's time is maximized. It's important to note that SMS messages need to be relatively simple. If somebody's going to click on a link in a text message, then remember that they're doing that on a mobile device. So if you've created a survey, you want to make sure that that's a responsive survey that's going to display properly on a mobile device. Our platform does that for you automatically, by the way. but you're also going to want to make sure that the Q&A involved in the survey is relatively simple, so that people can respond to it on a mobile device. Sending a 1 or a 2 answer back, that's relatively simple. The SMS gateway will take care of that even without the survey module, and you'll be able to use the results from your SMS messages to make your staff more effective. So going on, we have a couple campaign questions. Specifically, I think we're talking about marketing automation here. So does everyone have access to automations? A couple examples, welcome new subscriber, or is that a separate module? The short answer is yes, marketing automation is a separate module. However, if it's not already turned on in your platform, it's simply a matter of asking your account manager to get it turned on for you. All Dialog Insight clients are entitled to 3 marketing automation scenarios. That's included, with your platform. So an example of that could be the welcome new subscriber process that we mentioned, could be a birthday greeting or other such automations that we can help you talk through and come up with a few ideas, but we can certainly get you started with marketing automation. Now, marketing automation can also be relatively complex and larger scenarios. Our staff would be able to help you with that, and of course the fees associated with those extra campaigns is something you can work out with your account manager. So short answer is yes, everybody's entitled to 3 marketing automation scenarios. Moving on, we see the next question is how can you integrate automated emails? So with that in mind, Allison, why don't we take a quick look at the marketing automation interface and discuss a few of those options.
Okay, so you can create a new scenario, and we already have some templates here for you. Welcome message, welcome sequence, follow up after a purchase, or you can create your own custom scenario. If I go into one of them, welcome series, you can see that you can set up your own path for your messages and the delay in which they are sent, and then you can use different triggers. So if you do want to send a message after someone subscribes, you can create your own trigger that sends a message based on the new contact being added to the list.
Excellent. And you can create your own branches based on positive and negative replies. So if you send a message that doesn't get opened, you can send a reminder message, a day or a week later. If you get a successful reply, then clearly you don't want to send that contact the reminder message, but you may want to send them a thank you message or, something extra. I think there's a recorded webinar Allison and I did on marketing automation, in the links below, but either way, we'd be happy to help you with any marketing automation questions you have. I'm a big fan of the journey module as well. So if somebody visits your web page and they look at a specific product page or maybe a white paper that you posted, then that too can be a trigger for a marketing automation sequence. What better process than if you know somebody's interested in your widgets to send them more specific content that's personalized to their interest. That can be a very powerful sales aid. Another campaign question we have is how can we successfully implement A and B tests? Object, day of the week, time of sending. There's lots of variables in the A/B testing that we offer. In fact, it's A, B, C, D, E, or more testing. But the caution that I'd like to put forward is that when you start with your A/B testing, start with something simple. Start with something like varying the subject line. And that will keep things very easy to interpret. If you send one subject line to 10% of your contacts, you send a second subject line to another 10% of your contacts, then you can send the one that gave you the best results, you can decide on and send to 80% of your contacts. If you keep a calendar, if you keep your
John? I think we may have lost John. Okay, well, I guess I'll complete that that thought on A/B split tests. One thing you want to make sure to do also is to test one variable at a time. If you're testing subject line, only test subject line. If you're testing links in the message, only test links in the message. Don't test links and subject line at the same time because you're going to muddy your results. Now, how to do an A/B split test in the system. In campaigns and A/B split, the first thing you have to do is create your two messages. Message with subject line A, message with subject line B. Add your first message to your campaign. Add your contacts to your campaign and select a percent that you're going to send to, so maybe 50%. Send your first message. Then come back once your message is sent, add your second message, and send to the rest of your contacts. So the next question, on average, after how many bounces should one remove a contact from a list? John, are you back?
Yes, I am. That's the second webinar in a row. I apologize.
That's okay. So I just finished talking about the A/B splits, and I was just saying the next question is, on average, after how many bounces should one remove a contact from a list?
Excellent question. We'll go back to where we started with eligible and ineligible contacts. Some of the criteria there, the platform will manage for you automatically. So be aware that if you're sending messages and we get feedback from the receiving servers, we're going to automatically manage your contacts, eligible or ineligible status, based on that feedback. So if we get a message back from a server that a mailbox is full, then we're going to keep trying to send that message over, a week or so until it's either resolved or we have other evidence that contact is, more permanently ineligible or disabled. Not exactly the same thing as removing somebody from a list, but it is something that the platform does for you automatically. By the same token, if we get a message back that said the email address does not exist or there's a syntax problem or something, then that address is going to be more permanently ineligible until such a time as that that address is corrected or resolved. And that tends to be something you would do manually, or for the most part you would do that manually, when you look at recovering, contacts that fit that status. So if your rules are perhaps more conservative than ours, there are options to search, find, and remove people manually, or make them ineligible manually. Another example of that might be if there's a contact that hasn't opened a message in 6 months, then maybe you want to make them ineligible because they're not likely to, be interested in your content anymore anyway. So Allison will take a quick look at our reporting functions and some of the things you can do to find and manage your contact list that way.
Right, so in every report you have the list of bounces, and then you can make a group to find the contacts that have bounced over so many times, and from there you can do a list update to deactivate those contacts on the schedule that you like. So if you send very often, maybe once a week, then you're more likely to check for multiple bounces over a couple of months. If you send once a month, maybe every 6 months or every year, you'll check for multiple bounces.
Perfect. And this kind of leads into the next question about, do users have the ability to create, their own reports or our own reports? The short answer there is yes. We have a couple different layers to this. You have your standard results page. And Allison will show us a few of the options in terms of how users can configure the visuals associated with, reports from the platform. If you remember back to the first question about contacts and groups, there's functionality to search and find contacts based on, pretty much anything in the contact profile or their behavior, with you digitally. So those reports can also be exported in Excel, as we've already discussed. So the other thing I like to point out with reports is it's a digital platform. If the information exists in the digital platform, odds are, our user interface or our staff can help you find a way to get it out of the platform in a format that you would be able to use to meet your ends. So having set that up, Allison, let's take a look at a little bit of the flexibility in the user interface.
Okay, so we can add extra charts to segment based on profile information. So if I click on the click-through distribution, and then again up here on clicks, I'll just delete this. I can add a graph or add a chart. I'll give it the name of demo, and segment based on fields in the profile. So based on the clicks based on province. So now it has broken out by province, those with click-throughs and those without click-throughs. So you can add as many charts as you want for the profile criteria that you need.
Yeah, again, some setup required, but it's all user definable. There's a lot of information in the help files that'll help you with this, or as always, our staff is happy to hear from you and help you find your way through getting the information that you want, out of the platform. Going on, we have a question about Journey. Specifically, this is about how to configure web and email interceptors. So for those who don't know what those are, interceptors are something that happens between, opening a message or arriving at a web page, and then when you click to initiate an action, an interceptor can be put in place to help you, gather more information from your client. So we'll take a quick look at both, and you can start to see how powerful it'll be.
Okay, so a web interceptor is configured in the Journey section in Interceptors. Oops, sorry, I'm in the wrong project. I already have one set up, so I'm going to open it up. The first thing you have to do is tell the system where you want it to display. Will it be on your whole site or just certain pages? When will the interception occur? Who will see the interception, known visitors versus unknown visitors, and how many times the interceptor will be displayed. Then you have to decide the type of interceptor, if it's going to be a call to action, bringing them to another page, or a form. In my case, it's a form. So we set up the visuals, and then we can publish and decide when the interceptor will appear on the site. That's for a web interceptor. For the email interceptor, we go into configuration consents, and for each communication type you can set up an interceptor. You just have to click on the pencil beside it, define which opt-ins they're going to be subscribing to when they click. You can say who's going to receive it. So intercept all contacts with the no state, or if their implied consent is going to expire soon, and define how many hours before the next interception. And last, you can configure the actual form up at the top of that page.
Yeah, that's brings up an interesting point. I mean, interceptors are dependent on things that the platform is tracking. So in the case of a web interceptor, you may make it dependent on whether there's a known contact or an unknown contact. If it's an unknown contact, then you can present a form for them to sign up to receive information from you on a regular basis. In the case of an email interceptor, you can base it on things like consent. So here in Canada, for the Canadian Anti-Spam Law, or C-28, there's the concept of implied consent versus explicit consent. Implied consent, of course, expires. So if you know implied consent is about to expire, and the platform will track that for you, then you can present that user with an interceptor in order that they can grant explicit consent, and explicit consent of course does not expire. So in this way we can help you keep your contact list on the right side of anti-spam legislation and canned spam best practices and so on, to keep your marketing as effective as possible. Like anything, we'd be happy to take that offline and discuss it with you in more detail as it pertains to your use of the platform. We have one last question, Allison. This one touches on our contest module. Specifically, they're asking how to properly use a contact list from contests with cash prizes to contact customers. So we'll take a quick look at the contest module and perhaps remind everybody what's tracked and not tracked, and show you how to tease that information out of the platform.
Actually, the workflow, the contest module is part of the workflows menu, so if you don't have access to it, you can ask your project manager or account director. But I was going to show how to find contacts that have participated in a contest. So in the contact menu in groups, I'm going to double click open here. So in the behavior criteria, I have the contest option. So I'm going to move that over to the right and select my contest. And from there I can find contacts who have entered the contest, who won the contest, or entered the contest but did not win.
And then that becomes much the same as a group or a search, where the information can be displayed and of course exported for use, or you can maybe use it to create a group for another type of message. But the options there are many, in terms of what you can do, with the results of your contest initiatives. So that brings us to, the conclusion of our questions. I don't think we have any additional questions in the queue, so I want to thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Dialog Insight's very proud to be working with all of you, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So please do that through either Allison or I directly. It's jmartin@dialoginsight.com or aflero@dialoginsight.com, or just contact your account manager, and happy marketing. We're glad to be working with you.